I'm Dr. Bart and I'll be your product management teacher. Today, I would like to do something different. I will be, again, looking at the gaming industry because it's a great industry to learn product management from. This is because the users, the players, are very vocal about their needs, and it's very easy to dissect things that in regular office software or like business use is not that obvious, but can teach you a lot. So, a few days ago, a mobile game, Diablo Immortal, had its premiere. And let me tell you, this is one controversial game. Before we begin, just to stress, this is not a review of the game, this is not me playing the game, well, a little, but it's an analysis from a product manager's perspective that will help you to understand what's the controversy about, what performed badly, and what you could have done better as a product manager to avoid the very same mistakes, so hopefully you won't do them on your own in the future. If you know what Diablo franchise is about, just skip to, this timestamp somewhere on the screen. But if you don't, it's basically an action RPG game where you are a hero that fights demons and monsters to gain power. So you are in a loop of gaining power to kill more powerful monsters, which give you loot, which give you magical items, which give you additional power to your character so that you can fight bigger monsters and, get more power, and the cycle continues. There is also an element of, gambling, RNG, random not guaranteed, that makes it so that whenever you kill a monster, whenever you attempt to clear a map from opponents, you don't know what you're getting as the reward. So there will be different items, different rewards with different parameters. So there is a loop of repetition until you get the optimal item or optimal outcome. This loop of power is being enacted in an isometric view map where you control your character with a mouse, you fight monsters. I think that's all there is that you need to know if you have no idea about the Diablo franchise until this very moment. The first game was released in 1996, where the formula was first introduced, and the franchise continued on with Diablo 2, which perfected the formula, then Diablo 3 that I mentioned several times in my courses and videos because of the, communication failure stories, and I guess this has become a tradition for the franchise. And now we are waiting the fourth installment, Diablo 4, but before the players will get it, Diablo Immortal, a mobile edition, was released. And this is a two-part story because it all begins a few years ago when the game was announced. And back then, it was a situation where the players were expecting the Diablo 4 announcement. And let me tell you, this was supposed to happen on Blizzard's Activision, which is the game's producer-developer, conference called BlizzCon, simply. And what is important, very important for this story, is the fact that Diablo, until this point, was primarily a personal computer, PC game. If you know anything about PC gamers, you know that they are very attached to their platform, so-called PC master race. And if anything is console-like, or even worse, is being a mobile gaming, there will be some animosities or hatred, anger, hard to say, but definitely PC gamers don't really like to play on mobiles. So when the Diablo producer went on stage and rather than announce a new PC installment, he announced a mobile game, the crowd wasn't pleased.
Or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Hey, just was wondering, is this an out-of-season April Fool's joke?
No, it's a fully fledged Diablo experience.
So that was a painful scene, wasn't it? That's nothing I would like to endure. Anywho, what was wrong here? For one thing, there was no humility in the message. It looks like the product discovery phase failed because the producer did not see it coming. They did not know gamers that were primarily consisting of fans on a conference would react this way. That was a visual surprise to them. But they should have seen it coming. There should have been research that would have told them what will happen. So not understanding the crowd was the downfall of that moment, and also there was no good reaction to that. There was only trying to convince people that it's a good idea to people who are not really susceptible to any explanation. And that could have had such an easy fix. All they needed to do is to mention that Diablo 4 on PC is being developed. Just show their logo, just tell it it's in the works, that nothing is ready to be shown yet because it's very early in the production process. Because it was. There were rumors that the game is going out. But no, they decided to mention not a word and only talk about the unappreciated mobile version of Diablo. If they announced Diablo 4 first and then say that there is a smaller project in the meantime to ease the weight that will come out first, Diablo Immortal, a mobile game, then everyone would be very excited about the 4 installment and they would probably give the mobile version a little bit more understanding. The problem with mobile gaming is that it's often associated with very aggressive monetization. So most gamers, when they hear a mobile game, they hear we want to have a pipeline to your wallet and drain it dry. Was it the case for Diablo Immortal? Let's go to the part 2 of this story. So the initial bad press and impression, sort of faded away. The time went along, Diablo 4 was announced a year later, Diablo Immortal was being developed, there were good signals from people testing it. Players like big fans of the franchise which were given different test builds to try out, and the rumors were of a fully fledged game, not a cash grab, that would give you a good sense of what Diablo is on mobile. So as the initial bad taste in mouth faded away, the anticipation and excitement was slightly growing, with still players fearing what will be the monetization model. So before we move on, let's review how mobile games, especially the free mobile games, are being monetized. So you can have a traditional pay to buy access for the full game or add-ons, DLCs. So you basically have some kind of a campaign, some kind of a full game experience that you pay ahead of time, and then you can buy additional parts of the game with additional stories, additional campaigns. This is the try and tested method how video games used to and still are to this day being sold. With mobile games, however, the monetization could have all be around ads. So you can play as much as you want, but in order to gain some more or progress with the story of the game, you have to watch an ad. Of course, there's nothing stopping you from being donation based, so you only pay as much as you want based on your experience. But I have not seen a lot of games like this, so I don't think that this is a good monetization model. Now, another way to monetize the game is to be able to sell cosmetics. So being able to pay money to change some visual aspect of the game, whether it's the character you control, whether it's part of the UI, different things can be modified based on the money you pay in a game. Another way of monetization is subscription, where you just pay monthly to get loot or cosmetics or different goodies in the game that help you out, that you just pay a relatively small amount to get something more from the game. Those can be considered like moral, appreciated, understood, and everyone knows that you can build business around them without feeling like you are trying to get, well, all the money there is from your players. But now we are moving to slightly dangerous, immoral, controversial territory of ways you can monetize your mobile app. First of all, you have loot boxes, gachas. This is the gambling element where you pay money to basically roll a dice to get something in the game, whether it's new characters, whether it's new cosmetics, whether it's new elements that give power to your character, and they are all luck-based. This is sort of like playing Magic the Gathering card game where you buy those boosters where there are like few cards inside, but you don't know what cards are there. It's the electronic equivalent of that. And it's not that straightforward in terms of morality because, well, it is basically going to a casino. It is gambling in its core. It can be addictive. It can play on your basic instincts in order to, well, get you to spend more money than you should. Or your kid does that. And there are many examples of people spending dozens or hundreds of dollars on those types of mechanisms. And people are concerned. People are afraid that people who have gambling addictions can, well, spiral down while playing those games. And finally, the way to monetize, and another not too appreciated, is when you pay to gain advantage over other players, whether it's buying more power, saving more time, building faster, or getting ahead in any way by using your credit card, which sort of takes the fun away when you know that if you play fair and square, you have good experience, and the only way to be pro at a game is to use money, then it sort of breaks the game in a way. So, did Diablo Immortal went the moral way or the immoral way? How do you think? Do you think that if it went all good, we would have had this video? That's right. Let's start with repeating the same bloody mistake. Bad communication. Deceitful communication. The authors of the game did say ahead of time that there will be no pay to win, as it's called. So the way to monetize the gaining advantage would have not been included. That was wrong. Diablo Immortal has pay to win elements. You can buy power. It's not straightforward, but that's actually the case. And to make matters worse, some of the elements of power are not obtainable just by playing the game. Some of those will be only achievable if you pay money, which already is infuriating for players. There were supposed to be no loot boxes. There aren't in a traditional sense. The element of RNG is still there, and it's more of you can buy additional rolls of dice. You can go and try to gain something from an element of the game, but if you want more of it or have it stronger, you have to pay. Not only that, the game got released with the monetization using probably most of the mind hacking practices that are known to mobile app developers. By that, I mean using our basic human instincts to get you to pay, using Jedi mind tricks that can force you in a position where you'll be more comfortable to spend money on the game. That is being embodied by, for example, giving you something free in the shop. So you go to the shop, so you see the offers, so you're exposed to it. That is by having very low priced offers in certain areas of the game, so that you break that barrier of the first purchase. If you do one purchase in mobile game, you are much more likely to do more in the future. And having a very good deal, very cheap deal as your demo drug is a practice that's pretty successful, though not that moral. Also, making sure that if someone gets a very rare item, some element that is unlikely to be found, then a lot of his friends, colleagues, connections will know about it in the game, making you who see this advertisement, this announcement, want that item badly. So you may be more likely to spend money to get this item, which is, well, nothing you would have done otherwise. It's just like poking you in the direction that the authors of the game want you to go, to pay. And that is very disappointing, because all those elements spoil what is otherwise a pretty good game in terms of graphics, gameplay. I played some of it and had some fun. In fact, you can go on for 20, 40, 50 hours of the game and not need to pay a dime in order to progress. And somehow those elements that are not that good come in the forefront, like it usually tends to happen. You can have a pretty solid, pretty great product, but if there's a pretty painful element of it, you can be sure that it will be highlighted wherever possible. And I do realize it's not only Diablo Immortal, that there are many games, there are many real-life examples that do that, where in supermarkets the aisles are organized in a way to expose more products that you are more likely to pay, that there is chewing gum by the counter, so you buy that because the numbers show you are most likely to want to buy a chewing gum. And this is just an example of a world that is shaped to get the most from us. But that doesn't make it right. Following bad practices from other industries is just making them as wrong, even though in supermarket it doesn't hit you that hard and you have something physical at the end of the day. It's a chewing gum, not a bunch of zeros and ones that make your imaginary character slightly more powerful. I didn't mention that before, that this mobile game was also released on PC as beta. So all those elements that might have been better accepted on a mobile game, because those are practices that are on many mobile games, on PC are much worse accepted. It hurts much more and made the matters even worse. Coming back to the reasons that was a debacle. As I said, you can play the game for days on, not be forced to pay to progress, but the players who want to play as far as possible, who want to max out their characters, who are years old fans of the franchise, are the ones that have the YouTube channels, who have the voice, and those people need to pay in order to reach their maximum powerful character goals. And those people will be angry. Those people are angry. So your biggest fans become your biggest critics. You basically created a product that hits where it hurts the most, even though those are really a couple of people that have no real visibility when it comes to raw data, raw statistics in the game, but hurt your product long term. And I'm not saying that because of my impressions, because of me liking the franchise. I'm telling that because the game got $10 million upon the first week of release. That's a lot of money for a game that's advertised as free to play, free to download. Now, what should a product manager do better in this situation? What I would have done as a product manager? I think that, for one thing, all the mind hacking has to go. It's bad press, and hurts the game long term. or at least make it subtle, not so obvious to anyone that is looking at the game. But in terms of pay to win, I think that a case can be made that you can have the gacha element where you roll for power and for items, which was always there in the game, and you can have more rolls if you pay or watch an ad. Of course, ads are bad because they take the immersion away. You leave the game just to watch some silly ad. But in terms of the mobile game market, this is a practice that is acceptable. And this makes it so that both players who are willing to pay directly and those who don't are given the same access to potential power, making them on a level field. And more than that, every player becomes a paying player because, well, either they pay directly or buy their time by watching the ads. And this happens in many games and no one is bothered with it. The ad monetization is a practice that runs the internet. So why expose yourself to a situation where you appear to gate some power in the game, where you can make it available to everyone and gain business from everyone? So yeah, those are the actions I would have changed, and hopefully the release of the mobile game wouldn't be so criticized. People would complain about the game, but they wouldn't feel cheated. They wouldn't feel like they are forced to pay. They would have an option to pay, and that wouldn't change the game all that much. Again, I realize that immersion is something that would have been spoiled, but let's face it, you're not there to spend hours on gaming. You're there to have fun 10 minutes while you wait in the bus. There won't be any Diablo immersion in the bus. That was a long ramble. I'll probably spend a lot of time editing it. But I think that being able to comment on situations like this, on products that fail and succeed on our very eyes, is a great lesson in becoming a great product manager. And this is not my only lesson about that. If you want to hear more on what I have to say in order for you to become a great PM, please do check out my courses on Udemy and Skillshare. The QR codes are now on the screen. There are links in the description comment section. And for more guidance on how to become even better product manager, please like, subscribe, and I'll see you in a video next week. Bye-bye.